pride, passion, and pageantry of college football lives here. This is the Paul Feinbaum Show, Hour 1 podcast.
This might be college football heaven.
And we are still here. It is Wednesday. Good afternoon. Welcome in. A lot happening, and we're not going to waste another second of your time. Well, we might, but how about this? The All-SEC team is out. This is voted on by the coaches. Who knows more than them, especially since the coach last year at Ole Miss didn't even start, Trinidad Chambliss, and now he's the number one quarterback maybe in the country. Lacey's there. Hardy, we don't know much about when we'll see him next, but he's on the All-SEC team. Coleman, of course. Green, keep your eye on Green at LSU. Drew Bobo back. Defense, who else but Colin Simmons and Dylan Stewart. There's some big names. How about Alabama sneaking in there with two names? About time. Okay, we normally just go right to a guest, but we decided to shake things up today. We kind of feeling the season near. We want to get some more time for your phone calls, and there will be a lot of important phone calls today in case you have not heard, especially in about 3 hours. I can't tease it any more than that if you have not been keeping up with social media. Why don't we take phone calls at 855-242-7285. We begin with our good friend Hugh in Deep Gap, North Carolina.
Good afternoon, Paul. Thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to a lot of the stuff going on by the talking heads all over everywhere about the college season, and I'll tell you, I'm pretty pumped up about it. My daughter, who's a Carolina graduate, is actually going to get on a plane next Thursday and fly to Ireland for a short trip and see them get beat by TCU or whoever. But more to the point, and what I want to talk to you about, I think that we're seeing a major sea change in what is comprised in a winning coach for today's college football. For years, the Woody Hayes 3 yards, 4 yards in a cloud of dust was the mantra. And then Saban and his defensive acumen came along, and Mark Stoops, and of course Kirby Smart is the clone from Saban, but they were primarily defensive coaches. And to Saban's credit, he realized he needed to have different thinking on the offense. Brought in Lane Kiffin, which was a genius move, and it paid huge dividends. I think today, unless you have a head coach that's committed to the intricacies of offense, you don't really have a chance against a team that does. A defensive coach against an all-out offensive coach, the offensive coaches are winning. And to that end, I don't know whether Mike Bobo is a good coach or not, but when you've got a filter that's going to protect the defense and try to control the offense to shorten the game, which is exactly what Mark Stoops did for 14 years at Kentucky with less talent than is at Georgia, but it's the same prescription. I don't think Georgia or any team that follows that type of thinking, and that may include Oklahoma this year, is going to be very successful. I totally agree with your assessment about the young Florida coach they brought in. I think he's a breath of fresh air. He's good on both sides of the ball. I want to keep a close eye on what Oregon does in their early contest where they're challenged, because the offensive brain power that put that team together and recruited the offensive people that are there is now the head coach at Kentucky. So it remains to be seen whether Oregon will be hitting on all 8 cylinders without that leadership in the OC spot. But anyhow, Paul, that was just kind of my thought of the day. If you're not primarily oriented with aggressive offense and good at it, I don't think you have much chance in today's football world of college football. What do you think?
Yeah, no, Hugh, I think you laid it out very, very well. Number one, I'm really glad to have you back on the show. Look forward to many more conversations. Thank you, Hugh and Deep Gap. And how about this? Booker returns to the show from New Jersey. Hello, Booker.
Hello, Paul. I'm glad to be back. I fractured my neck on Memorial Day weekend. I've been in the rehabilitation center for 80 days.
Oh, my goodness. That's a tough thing to do. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I just was dismissed today and came in, cut the TV on, and you were on. I said, well, let me see if I can log back in.
Okay.
See what's going on. I haven't watched you in 80 days.
Well, Booker, the most important thing is that you're doing well. That's a tough injury to have. What are you able to get around now?
Yeah, I'm using a cane and a walker. So I've got to be limited for a little while. But so it's step by step. And I've talked with a few of the other listeners who knew that I was there. So we've been conversing. So everything's good. So I know that's a bad word in the SEC, but go Buckeyes.
Hey, listen, we'll grant you that absolution. Booker, great to have you back. Really fun to hear from you again. Be well. Scissorhands in OKC is up next.
What's up, Paul, my buddy, my friend, my palsy? What it do, baby?
What's happening?
Hey, well, I just want to say this. Sooner Nation has been hitting me up, and they've been telling me to call in to my boy Paul Firebaum, because you got him up in an uproar. But you know what, Paul? I love it. I love it when they talk down on my Sooners, baby. I love it. So you keep bringing that energy and pump up Sooner Nation, because all that's in my back of my mind is when you said in 2014, there's no way in hell Oklahoma is going to beat Alabama. And I was down there in New Orleans leading my Sooners to victory, baby. So, Paul, you keep bringing it. You keep
and Scissorhands, some former player named McCoy even tweeted at me yesterday.
That's my boy. That's my boy, GK. That's my dog. That's my
okay.
dog.
I'd never heard of him until I saw the tweet. So I'm just testing you, Sooner fans. I know who he is. But
see, Paul, I love it, brother. I love it. And see, the whole thing about it, I built a bond with you. I got to meet you. And we cool, and you're a great guy. And this is the whole thing about
Scissorhands, I'm not going to waste the audience's time, but I'm going to be on with Dari Noka tomorrow. I am going to explain in great detail exactly how that take made it on the public airways, okay?
Okay, I'll be listening, baby.
Now, there's a story behind it. Okay, and I'm not going to, because I know that most of our audience doesn't really care about the Sooners.
Boomer Sooner, baby.
So I'm not going to waste the time. Thanks for the call. Daryl joins us from Columbus, GA.
What's going on, Paul?
Hey, Daryl, how are you? I'm a little worried. Daryl, I'm a little worried about you. I saw you down rating me the other day, down rating the show, saying that all this Ring of Honor, who really cares? So I just want to make sure you're okay.
Well, sometimes you just strike a nerve. You know what I mean? You have the ability to do that. You're one of the few that can do that to me, but you can do it, okay?
Okay. I just want to make sure your health is good, Daryl. I don't care what you say. I just want to make sure you're okay.
Well, my health is kind of – I'm a little worried here, Paul, okay? Look, I know that we can win the SEC, okay? I know our schedule is manageable. I know at the door we got a couple of chump games, first SEC games on the road against Arkansas. But other than that, we don't play Texas. We don't play A&M. So I'm not worried about that. Special teams, I'm not really worried. We got one of the best field goal kickers in the country. Now, on the offense, Paul, I told you this back in February. I gave you the rundown on what the deal was, and that's exactly what everybody is saying now. We got, okay, we are going to run. Kirby Smart is a run. He believes in stopping and run and being able
to. Daryl, you okay? Did you have a coronary? And what's the deal? I always get. I mean, I tell you what, I always worry about myself sometimes, but I always get a little bit nervous when a caller is on a rant and he just flatlines. Let's come back to Daryl a little bit later. Why don't we tell you right now what's happening here? Kevin Miller and Brent Silvia, two folks in South Carolina have done a book, not on Shane Beamer, but on the HBC. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Back to school. Everybody's dropping by today. Coming up in a minute.
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.
So a number of the students will be dropping by. We go to A&M. How about Auburn? Two good places to go. Daily Beacon. A McGee in Knoxville. Shocking. And Abby Miller joins us from the Reflector. We were talking to Daryl. We're going to check back in and make sure Daryl is still upright. Daryl, you still there?
Well, you're making me laugh because you know what? Boy, have the times changed at Alabama since Daddy Saban left, huh? I mean, just have changed, been getting blown out in SEC title games by Georgia. I mean, just, I hate it for DeBoer. I don't know how much longer he's going to survive this. I hate it for him, but the times have definitely changed, no doubt about that. Now, Paul, what I was saying about Georgia, okay, we can run the ball. We got the backs. We got one receiver that's got some has proven it on the field. The other ones we don't know about. That's the problem on the offense. But Paul, there's one more problem on the offense that I think people overlook. Who did Kirby Smart learn from, Paul? Nick Saban. And one thing Nick Saban was known for was having his hand in everything, in every meeting. He had to be a part of it. And I think that hurts Georgia. Kirby's the same way. And this is where I'm getting at, Paul. Bobo gets the blame for it, okay? But you cannot say, okay, my offense is going to be designed to run the football, okay? That's what we're going to do. We're going to run the ball. And then expect for it to be explosive. You can't. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. You're either going to be explosive or you're going to do pound and ground, right? And Kirby is pound and ground. And I know that Mike Bobo. I saw what he did when he was under Mark Richt. Paul, very good offense coordinator. Okay, he's handicapped. Kirby is handicapping him by running and Kirby by wanting to run the football. He will not. And you can't have both. Monken probably had a little more leeway when he was there. That's what you want. That's a perfect scenario right there to be able to be explosive by throwing the ball and be able to run the ball. But when Monken was there, it was more throw the football than run. I mean, and we won 2 national titles. And I just think if Kirby would give Bobo a little bit more, just back off the offense a little bit and let Bobo run it, it would be better. I really believe that. But Kirby's all about it. You got to be able to run the football. On defense, we got to have somebody step up on that defensive line. If Georgia is going to win a national title, like we had with Jalen Carter, like we had with Jordan Davis, we didn't have nobody like that last year. What that caused Georgia to do, we had to blitz. You can blitz, okay? If that's the only way to get pressure on the quarterback, you can do that. But when you do that, you put your secondary in man coverage. And now we got a really good secondary coming back, but you put it in man coverage. We have got to have somebody on that defensive line like Gabe Harris to step up this year. If Georgia can do that, Paul, we can win the national title this year. But that's got to be done. And let me say this: I believe Indiana. I believe they're a one-hit wonder, Paul. We will see. But I got to see it to believe it again. To believe Indiana is going to be consistently up there with the big dogs every year. I just don't believe it. And other than that, roll tide. I mean, go Dogs. See you, Paul.
Thank you. Sooner in Texas is up next.
Boomer Sooner, Paul.
Boomer.
Paul, you remember last year when you were on the Texas bandwagon and I said you're going to get egg on your face because every time Texas is ranked that high and everybody's talking about them, they always fall short?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so you did it again this year, Paul. I thought the egg on your face last year would temper you a little bit.
I may not have gotten Texas right at the end of the season. I did miss a game or two, but you know what game I got right? The Red River game. That's an easy one to get right.
Paul, give me a break. Every time they've beaten us, we've had a quarterback that's been injured. Look at the 3 of the last 4 wins. 3 years ago.
I'm sorry, Sooner. I'm not really in charge of the excuse department at the University of Oklahoma.
Okay. Well, when Texas misses the playoffs again this year, because they're probably going to go 9-3, and then Sark's going to blame a hard schedule, which he's had 2 easy schedules the last 2 years, and didn't make the playoffs with an easy schedule last year. So what makes you think they're going to make the playoffs with a hard schedule this year?
An easy schedule. They played at Ohio State and at Georgia. That's easy?
Okay, so they should have lost 2 games. They lost 3, and they almost lost to Mississippi State, and Kentucky.
Yeah, but they almost, but they did manage to somehow pull out a win in that most hate. I mean, you talk like you own Texas. You don't. That was when Bob Stoops was there. Your boy Venables has not exactly owned Texas. I think you're aware of that, aren't you?
Well, that's going to change this year, Paul. You watch.
Yeah, I heard that last year. Thanks, Sooner.
Okay, well,
can't wait for a new script from you.
Kyle
is up next in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Hello, Kyle.
Paul, these callers, they're a little crazy today. Oklahoma this, Oklahoma that. Oklahoma couldn't even beat Alabama, and Alabama didn't even have a run game. We didn't even have a run game, and Oklahoma's talking about they're going to do this and that. The schedule just doesn't line up for Oklahoma to go pretty far. They're probably going to lose 4 or 5 games. Now, the big question I got is Notre Dame. Notre Dame's just been on my mind. Everyone's just crowning them champion. But if you look at the schedule, Notre Dame don't play nobody. So, Paul, if Notre Dame, let's just say they win all September games and win all the games in October, and they finally play somebody in November and play Miami and lose, I mean, are they worthy of being in a 12-team playoff with their best win being against someone like Stanford?
Fair point.
I mean, they play nobody. Rice, Stanford, Wisconsin, Michigan State. So, I mean, if Notre Dame slips up just one game,
well, I think your point is a good one. I think they can get away with 1 loss. I don't think they can get away with 2 losses. Now, remember too, they're grandfathered in with this convoluted CFP system that we have. If they're in the top 12, they will get in, but they're not going to be in the top 12 with 2 losses.
But that's what I'm trying to say. They got them ranked so high at the beginning. They could take a loss and still be somehow in the top 12. But knowing that their schedule is so bad, they play nobody. I mean, they could, if it was Alabama or somebody else in the SEC, they got plenty of time because we're playing ranked opponents week in, week out. But Notre Dame, they can just sit back and play nobody, beat Miami, and everybody thinks they're the best team in college football. That's just not going to be the case. Notre Dame, my prediction, does not make the college football playoff, and Notre Dame will not be inside the top 12 at the end of the year. They'll be lucky to win, I'm saying, 9 games.
Well, Kyle, thanks for the call. I mean, they would have to forfeit a game to lose 3. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Let me check in with Travis in Alabama. Hey, Travis.
Yes, Paul. I know I come on here. Well, first of all, how are you doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you very much.
Right, yes. I know I come on here, Paul, and I'm the one that normally asks questions, but I would actually like to get your thoughts and who do you have winning the Heisman Trophy so far this before the season starts?
You know, I'm probably leaning a little toward Dante Moore at Oregon.
Yes, and then who is your national champions, Paul?
Same team. I like Oregon to win it all, followed by Notre Dame.
Right. So are you officially off the Arch Manning train? Because this year you were. Last year you were very much on the Arch Manning train.
Listen, I am on the Arch Manning train. I'm just not the conductor this year. I'm sitting in the back.
Right. Yes. Paul, before I go, I just want to thank you for always taking my calls. I know I'm not the easiest caller to understand sometimes, but I have a disability. I have cerebral palsy, and which makes it hard for me to talk sometimes. And I had a friend who died from muscular dystrophy last year, and he always wanted me to call the Paul Feinbaum Show because me and him are such big fans of this show. And so I'm doing it in part for him, but I'm calling in for myself too. And,
well, Travis, hey, Travis, before you go, I'm sorry about your friend. I have friends with cerebral palsy, and I know the challenge, but I want to tell you that your calls here are eagerly anticipated. We thoroughly enjoy talking to you, and I would not have ever thought there was even the slightest bit of a disability. So you keep calling, and we look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Yes.
All right. You have a good day, Paul.
Thank you, Travis. You be well. Thanks so much for calling. We'll be right back. Much more to come. Our back to school special is later. We'll talk about Spurrier in just one moment.
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.
How about this? This book is out about Steve Spurrier, the Spurrier Effect, how one coach transformed Gamecock football. Brent, Silvia, and Kevin Miller joining us to talk about it. Guys, thanks so much. I heard from Brent a couple of months ago about this project, and it was really exciting, and the book arrived a few days ago, guys. I thank you for that, and I want to start with you, Brent, and just talk a little bit about not a new subject, certainly a beloved subject, but what prompted you guys to go down this road and relive some of the greatest memories, if not the greatest, in South Carolina football history?
Yeah, it is. It's the greatest era in Gamecock football history, and this idea was actually born out of sheer boredom for me because I was I'm a high school teacher at Blythewood High School here just northeast of Columbia, and I teach seniors, and they were all gone for the semester because they got out a couple weeks earlier. So I'm sitting in my classroom and looking around my room, and I decided that nobody had ever written a book about Steve Spurrier's tenure, and I'm no author, so I've got one book that's self-published. But I said, why not? Let's see if we can write a book about Steve Spurrier whenever he was at South Carolina. So I reached out to Kevin, and Kevin was basically like, "There's no way that's going to happen." And I said, "No, I'm being serious." And he said, "So how are we going to do this?" So we started going back and forth. And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "We have to get Spurrier's approval before we do this." So I said, "How am I going to reach out to Spurrier? How am I going to get in touch with Spurrier?" So sent an email to his email that's on his bio at the University of Florida, and heard nothing for about 3 weeks. And about 3 weeks later, it was a Friday night in early June. I was putting my little girl down to go to bed, and my watch starts buzzing. I look down at it, and the suggested caller ID said S. Spurrier, and I said, "There's no way that this is happening." So I took off running. I didn't even close my daughter's door. I went in and picked the phone up. I have no idea how I even got the word hello out. And he was asking how our golf season at Blythewood went, because at the time I was the head boys golf coach, and away we went, because he said not only does he want to let us do it, but he wanted to be a part of it. So over the last 2 years and 2 months, Kevin and I have worked with Coach Spurrier along the way, and he's been a big part of this entire process.
Well, Kevin, I got a call from, a couple of months ago, and when Steve Spurrier calls you, it's like he said, "Call me back right away." I'm like going, "Wow, what's going on here?" He's coming back to coaching. So I called him up, and I said, "So what's up?" He said, "You got to help some of my boys out," and he obviously started talking about you guys, and it was. Listen, I didn't have anything to do with it, but he just wanted me to be aware of it. So Kevin, what happened after the HBC gave his approval?
Well, from there, Paul, it was time to get to work, right? I am a sports writer. I work for Gamecock Central on the On3 network. And so when Brent called me, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to need your help on this." And I was like, "Okay, I guess we're really doing it." And so we started having conversations with Coach. Brent got a lot of fun phone calls that maybe we can share off air, but we started having conversations. We started having sit downs with Coach and just taking notes and recording everything, because as you know, as someone who has talked to Coach plenty of times, once you get him rolling, he will continue to talk and tell great stories and continue to just share so much about his career, his experiences. And so we just kind of soaked it all in for a while, took a lot of notes, recorded everything. And from there, it was just time to try to put some things together. And eventually a book came out of it.
Considering, guys, and I'll go to you on this, Brent, he was already the greatest coach in Florida history and one of the greatest players. What made this work? Because Lou Holtz had gotten it off the ground, and then it ended poorly. Spurrier didn't waste much time in making the Gamecocks competitive.
Yeah, whenever he got to South Carolina, he knew that he had everything that he needed at South Carolina to win, and it was a lot of hard work. And if you ask him what made it work was whenever they started winning the in-state recruiting battles, a few years into his tenure. But it happened immediately, because the first year they beat Tennessee for the first time in Knoxville, and then they beat Florida for the first time since 1939. And that was an emotional day for him, because that was his first time going against Florida. But it really didn't start, heading in the right direction in the big time success that they had until they started winning the in-state recruiting battles beginning in late 2008, 2009, where you had guys like Stephon Gilmore and Alshon Jeffrey, and then you get to Marcus Lattimore and so on and so forth with those types of superstars that played at South Carolina for all those years.
Yeah, and Kevin, the state's always had good players, but this was a particularly vintage time. Was it a domino effect that once a couple started going? Because I know he mined the Rock Hill area. There were other places in the state that just suddenly went Gamecock all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Rock Hill. Stephon Gilmore was one of the earlier commitments from the list of very recognizable names, and we heard from several former coaches and players during this time that the recruiting pitch got pretty simple. It's like, hey, do you want to come play with these other really great players from the state of South Carolina and turn this program, the flagship university in this state, into a winner? And pretty much everybody at that time said absolutely. Even when Jadeveon Clowney several years later joined the program in the class of 2011, one of the things he said was, there are some really good football players in Columbia. I want to play football with them. So the in-state recruiting push was absolutely crucial.
And Brent, it's been a while, but a lot of younger people are going, South Carolina's okay, but I want you to articulate just how great they were during that 3 or 4 year period when they had Gilmore and Clowney and pretty good quarterback as well, who's included in your book. Talk about that moment in time, because this team was capable of winning it all. Yeah, and talking about winning it all, it's the losses that kept them from winning it all that still stick out to him. But like the Auburn loss in 2011, the LSU loss in 2012, the Tennessee loss in 2013. But you're right, when South Carolina had it rolling from 2010 to 2013, they could beat anybody, and they did. Highlighted by probably his favorite win during his South Carolina tenure when they dominated number 1 Alabama. I know that's going to upset some of your listeners, but because being based in Alabama, but hopefully I don't mess with too many people there. But in that 2010 win, when Garcia was darn near perfect, they beat them by 2 touchdowns, and they controlled pretty much the whole game. And then they went on to win the SEC East that year, and they lived inside the top 10 for the next 3 years after that. Yeah, I know you've heard the story, but I was the day before that game in Columbia, I was on Dan Patrick's show right after Darius Rucker had been on. And he was boasting, as he tends to do now and then. And Patrick asked me, he said, "You just heard Darius Rucker." And I tried to act like I didn't know who Darius Rucker was. I said, "Isn't he with Hootie and the Blowfish?" And he goes, "So what chance you give South Carolina? Darius just picked them to beat Alabama." I said, "No chance." He said, "No chance?" I said, "Zero chance of beating Alabama." Of course, my friend and I went up to the game the next morning in Columbia. And after the game, I figured I had to see if Spurrier was still speaking to me. He did the interview with Aaron Andrews right after the game, I believe, and he looked at me and he goes, "That was a great pick, wasn't it?" And that's the story of Steve Spurrier, guys. You did the book, but he never forgets something like that.
Ever.
At all.
I mean, there are times throughout this process that he would tell us about things that he remembered from his playing days in the 60s at Florida, or from his time coaching at Florida, or even his time in the NFL, or earlier in his time period coaching at South Carolina, that fueled him and made him, as the ultimate competitor, want to get back at these other teams when he was with the Gamecocks. And it is really interesting to hear about some of those, like Nebraska, for example, beat Florida in what amounted to the 1995 national championship game. And when South Carolina got a chance for some revenge, so to speak, in the Capital One Bowl after the 2011 season, he made sure the fans heard about it after the game. Like he walked over to the fans and had a little something to say in typical Steve Spurrier fashion.
It is just an unbelievable period, and told eloquently. The name of the book, The Spurrier Effect, How One Coach Transformed Gamecock Football. Brent and Kevin, thank you. Book's out. I'm assuming it's available, Amazon, the usual places.
Yeah, it's available through through the publisher that published it, USC Press. It's also available on Amazon and a lot of different independent bookstores around Columbia. But we encourage everybody that's just a fan of the SEC to go read this book, because it's not just a story about South Carolina, and you can't tell the story of the SEC without talking about Steve Spurrier, and you can't talk about Steve Spurrier without talking about his tenure at South Carolina, which it's crazy to think about, but he was at South Carolina nearly as long as he was at Florida. So we hope everybody that, even if you're not a South Carolina fan, if you're a fan of the SEC and you love this conference, and you have for years, that you enjoy reading this chapter about the greatest era in South Carolina football.
Guys, thank you very much. It's so difficult to have a second act, and Steve Spurrier pulled that off with great eloquence and success. Brent, Kevin, thank you. All the best on the book. We appreciate you making time for us here, and we will take a short break. We're coming right back.
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.
And we welcome all you back. Let's get right to the calls, and Chris is up next.
Oh, what an awesome day on the greatest show ever. And I can't wait, Paul. I already hear the clown music keying up, because the King Clown is coming back today. I got my popcorn with my salt on it, Paul. I can't wait. There's a couple things that I want him to address, since he said he's going to address some of his haters. I'm not a hater. But address, legend. Tell me how you got fired on your day off like Craig off of Friday for stealing boxes. Tell me how many dust bunnies on your bed, so that's where you've been for the last 3 weeks in the fetal position, crawled under there, touting and crying. Come on, legend, let us in. We want to know who the life of the celebrity. We want to hear some stuff about you. Paul, I'm not going to get on here and just keep talking about him. I want to talk about them two guys you had on there. They wrote a book about Steve Spurrier's career in South Carolina, and they don't mention he had any championships, not even an SEC title game or a national championships. And you mean to tell me my little brother think they in the same league as us, and they don't even got a championship in 119 years of playing college football? They writing a book about a coach that quitted on him because he didn't want to get his ass whooped by Dabo at the end of the year? You mean to tell me that? I wish we could have got some of them great players they had, because they did have a bunch of great players. That would probably have 4 or 5 more championships. But they're going to think they got a bestseller. Steve Spurrier. That's a joke. And another thing, Paul, I know it's 2 teams that's not going to win a national championship this year, and that's Texas and Oregon. You picked them. You ain't picked the champions since you picked Alabama every year. And that's been about 6 years ago, right? You can't talk about things 6 years ago because they ain't relevant, right? That's what you always tell me. Legend, try to come on today, try not to cry, and go ahead, man, explain some of the things. I really want to know, Craig. And one more thing before I get off of here, Paul. Our monkey, our man name has been changed. It is I Am Karen. Since you like to point and tell everything, and he ain't got no business of his own. He don't make nothing irrelevant. He just want to talk about everybody else, and it's just like everybody else, Dylan. You ain't no competition. You hear my voice online. Quit running from me. If you're a black hatter, I thought black hatters was the elite of the elite. Get on the phone for you with me. Your brain can't think that fast? Have a nice day, Paul.
Squirrel is up next.
Well, what an honor to follow that clown. And if you want to see something funny, look at a picture that AJ put on Twitter yesterday. It shows it shows our boy in a Clemson cheerleader uniform, pom-poms and everything, which is the closest Chris ever got to a football field. So congratulations to Chris on that picture. But no, man, I felt like I needed to call in yesterday. It sounded a little serious when I had to get off the phone, and I had several people call me. Have you ever been to Ocean Springs, Paul?
In Mississippi, yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to the Walter Anderson Museum of Art?
No, I have not.
When you were there? Well, you went down that street. It's a little street with shops and cafes and stuff like that, old houses that were converted. And as I was going to pick up my wife a birthday some candles for her birthday. Today's her birthday, and there's a favorite candle that she likes that they sell at this place there. I was just easing down the street, and I saw this lady miss a step and or trip or something. But long story short, she ended up on her butt, and she was an older lady, kind of like Jim's age. So I felt like I just needed to jump out and see if she was all right and everything. I think she was more embarrassed than hurt or anything like that. But that's why I had to jump off this.
Okay, well, no, was she okay?
Oh, yeah. I think, like I said, she was more embarrassed, and she didn't even know anybody saw her fall. And I just happened to be looking, sideways as I was going down the street, and like I said, she landed on her rear in the grass, so it could have been a lot worse. But no, she was okay, or so she said. But that was that yesterday. But no, I had called for a silver alert on Swamp Dog, and I was commenting on my other favorite caller, Johnny Perv. And I was a little hard on him last week, and he called in response, and his response was really weak. I don't know if you remember it, but basically all he said was that me and Brad needed to go get a hotel room. But Brad was spot on yesterday. It's so funny when that clown calls in, because he made such a show out of quitting and everything.
Hey, thanks for the call. Really do appreciate it. We'll talk a lot about back to school. We go to A&M next. Are they as good as their ranking?
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.